So let's look at diffusion first of all. You might remember, hopefully you remember from junior cycle, if you haven't done this already with the breathing system, what you're looking at there is one of those alveoli. Remember those little tiny little bubbles, those little air sacs at the end of your bronchioles, at the end of the branched lungs, the branching in the lungs. You have these collections of little like bunches of grapes of these little alveoli. Right? So that's a single alveolus right there. And what's going around it is a capillary. So that blue to red is a blood vessel, a tiny little hair-like blood vessel that's carrying deoxygenated blood into the lungs from the heart. And then what happens then is what we call diffusion. So diffusion of gases in this case, because there's more carbon dioxide in the blood than there is in the alveolus. So carbon dioxide will move from where there's a high concentration of it to where there's a low concentration of it. That's the general story with diffusion. It's the movement of ions or molecules or substances from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. And it'll stop when the concentrations are equal. So similar thing happens then with oxygen, right? There's more oxygen, there's a higher concentration of oxygen inside the alveolus than there is in the blood, because the blood is deoxygenated blood, right? It's lost all its oxygen because it's been around the body. It's come back to the heart, it's been pumped to the lungs, and now it goes in. So naturally, and it costs no energy to do this, oxygen will move along what we call a concentration gradient, down the concentration gradient from where there's lots of it to where there's not much of it into the blood. So this is diffusion. Diffusion is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. It's kind of straightforward. It happens with gases, it happens with dissolved substances, and it's all about the fact that there's a difference in concentration that we call this concentration gradient. Think of it like a slope. Okay. So naturally things move down, right? It's like, it's like gravity almost. It's down a concentration gradient. So if there's a difference in concentration, then diffusion will cause the movement down a concentration gradient. Like I said, it costs no energy. It's what we call a passive process. And you can have movement of molecules up a concentration gradient, but we'll come to that. That doesn't come free, right? That's not what we call a passive process. That's what we call active transport, and we'll see that in examples of that in a second. So we've had, through the course, you'll see various, diffusion comes up again and again, as does osmosis. And you'll see, diffusion as we just saw it in the alveolus, but you'll also see it when you do the brain, you see it at the synapse, where you get diffusion of neurotransmitters across the gaps between one neuron and the next. You might not have done that yet. You'll see also, it happens in the leaf, it happens in the stomata, and so on. It's how gas exchange occurs in plants, is by diffusion.